Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the episode today, we have Tommy Montelli. Tommy, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Happy to be here.
Very happy to
Thanks
have
for
you.
having.
Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Thank you. I am a former college basketball player and coached high school basketball for 20 years. So basketball is big in our life, as you can see the picture behind me, which is the old Boston Garden. Some of the most iconic players who have ever played basketball are in this picture behind me. And a dear friend of mine, who's one of the players for the Celtics at the time, signed that picture for me. So we are big into basketball, Tom, but we are also, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. And now we teach our clients how to use lessons from athletics to translate into their entrepreneurial career to lift their businesses to new heights. And so I've been an entrepreneur myself. Now, for reasons we'll probably get into a little bit later, I've decided I want to kind of give back and teach what we have learned and strategies that have been successful in the past for our business. And we're teaching that now with great success, thank goodness. So we're on the right path so far.
Well, that's good to hear. And thank you for the introduction. I have noticed and even mentioned the analogies and crossovers that can come from sports to, should we say, self-development or even success or business, as you mentioned. Is there a point in which it really lands for you? Is there a moment where you think, wow, using analogies or perhaps approaches from basketball can be so helpful to those who are wanting to be entrepreneurial or perhaps successful?
Yeah, Tom. There's a lot of specific examples I can give you where our outcomes, the outcomes that we have achieved and our clients have achieved as a direct result of following our strategies. We've had entrepreneurs come to us with their businesses failing. We've had entrepreneurs come to us who had addiction problems. We've had entrepreneurs come to us whose marriages are imploding. These are all because they were experiencing an accelerated level of stress and anxiety in their life. And generally, when your potential is here, but you're performing at a level that is down here, in that gap is where anxiety, frustration, burnout start to percolate. So we have had our clients make monumental shifts, complete 180s, when we incorporate some of our strategies into their life. And it has to do with Thomas, it has to do with their business, but it has to do with their family. It has to do with how they interact when they're not in the office. So it's like a team. We've coached really successful teams in the past. And my dad was a high school basketball coach. He was a famous high school basketball coach who won nearly 900 games in his career. And but he would be the first to tell you when someone brought that up, I also lost 325 games. He won 11 state championships, which is a record in Connecticut. And when someone would bring that up, he'd say, yeah, but I also lost 7 state championship games. And he would say this, Thomas, because he wanted to know, his players to know that, look, I've achieved some outstanding accomplishments. I've got a lot of accolades, but I've also lost a lot of games. I've learned a lot of lessons. I've had a lot of setbacks. And as a result of those setbacks, and I agree with him, and I think most of your viewers will agree, those setbacks sometimes can set you up for some really monumental success in the past if you handle the setbacks correctly. So that's a lot of our work. It's handling a loss or a setback or a defeat in a certain way and using that as a springboard to your next level up. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. The one thing I wanted to follow up on you with was you mentioned your dad, and I'm sure you've got tons of great lessons from him. But what's one which you use in your life that you could share with others where they can benefit from also?
So thank you for asking that. And my dad at 92 years old passed away last July. And he was my mentor. He was my best buddy. He was my guy. And he had an amazing, some of his best coaching, Thomas. He won 900 games. In the States, there is the Hall of Fame basketball, the Naismith Hall of Fame. He won a Lifetime Achievement Award. So he has literally a plaque with his picture on it in the Naismith Hall of Fame, the greatest Hall of Fame there is. But some of his greatest coaching never took place within the confines of a basketball court. It took place off the court, the way he impacted his players and his former players. So to answer your question, guys would come back to him, former players would come back to him, and they would have all sorts of issues. And they were in their 40s, their 50s, and their 60s, these guys. They would come back to who they called coach. And they would, because they had so much confidence and so much respect for him from when he coached them in high school. And they would come back with all sorts of issues. And he would say, listen, first things first, okay? And he was always big on the fundamentals. We had some of the most successful basketball teams, high school basketball teams in the country when my father coached. He was never overly complicated, Tom. He kept things very simple, nothing complex, nothing outrageous. We just kept things to the basics, and we were outstanding at the fundamentals. He would say to the guy, look, guy, come back. You're, I'm looking at you, Joe, he would say to his former player, and you've gained a lot of weight. You're not moving as much. He says, first thing you got to do, you got to fix that. So he would say, you got to get your health in order, which is kind of brilliant. Then he would say, your faith. We're Catholic, and we're, my dad was a devout Catholic, and faith is very important to me. And he would say, are you going to church? Are you saying your prayers? Are you taking time by yourself to focus and to be, to be with your thoughts, whether you're going to pray or whether you're going to meditate? So the first two things he would say, Tom, is you got to have your health in order and you got to have your faith in order. And holy smokes, I used to hear that. I'd say, wow, that's a hell of a foundation to have. If things are going south and you're feeling in a rut, and you can go back to, okay, let me get my health in order. Let me start moving my body, and let me get my faith in order. Whatever that means to you, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So your health and your faith. We took that one step further in our coaching, Tom. We said every day, if you can do four things, okay, no matter what state you're in, positive state, really bad state, if you can move your body, if you can improve every day, if you can get better, if you can grow, if you can expand every day, read a book, watch a great video, listen to a great podcast. You can listen on don't waste your time on social media, but you can watch some of the greatest business leaders and thought leaders on social media and learn a lot. So every day move, every day improve, serve every day, serve anybody and everybody, do something for somebody else that they really don't expect it. And the last thing is, we would say, shut up every day. Spend 10, 15 minutes, an hour by yourself, Thomas, in solitude, with no distractions, no devices, no nothing. Now, if you go move every day, improve, serve, and you shut up, that spells miss every day. So we say to guys, when you're in a rut, you don't know where the hell to go, do these four things. Get your body moving, expand your mind, grow your mind, get better, improve, serve others, because you can't make big strides if you're selfish. You have to be in service to others. That is our opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree. Hopefully your listeners will agree. And then Thomas, no one spends time in silence. It's a lost art, but there is so much science behind the power of spending time by yourself. Pray, meditate. How about this? This is a shocker. Just think. Journal. So those are four things that I learned and we teach our clients. And it's not simple, Thomas. It's not complex. We're not giving you strategies where you got to start analyzing your subconscious mind and this and that and what happened when you were a baby. And no, move, improve, get better, serve others, and shut your mouth every day. Spend some time in silence or solitude. So
It's
those are
great
four
advice.
things that we learned. And I'll tell you, Thomas, we've had guys who were CEOs, we've had world-class hedge fund managers, we've had elite members of the military, we've had first responders come to our program, and just making those four adjustments every day has changed their outlook in their life.
Well, it's actually one of the
And we,
things I was going to ask you about, which is
yeah,
when people come to you for help, and I mean, typically I'm guessing they come to you in a business context, meaning I have a business problem. But because you offer, should we say, personal, helping them personally is going to help the business side of things. Is that,
yeah,
what percentage do people come because they specifically want a business problem, or is it that they actually just need to feel better and that's your way to help them?
a very good distinction there. And most of them, we are known for working, Thomas, with former athletes, active competitive guys and women. Those are typically the people that come to us because they know our background. And the distinction you make is terrific. Many of them come to us with they've got anxiety, they've got brain fog, they've got a little burnout, and they just don't know where to turn. When they played athletics, back in the day, they had a team around them. They had a coach who was leading them, who would say, "Okay, let's get your head out of your butt and let's go this way, or you go that way." So they come to us for the old school coaching and camaraderie and teamwork because they've lost their edge, they've lost their mojo. And you just brought it up, Thomas, what ends up happening is they come to us, their health gets in order, their relationships improve through the roof. Guys are like, "I've never been happier in my marriage in 20 years, Tom. I'm communicating with my wife, I'm spending more time with my children." and and uh and so all of a sudden they come in for some burnout and some anxiety, and they got a little, angst, but then everything starts to evolve. The cloud dissipates in their head and the sun starts to shine, and their relationships get better, their health gets better, their business, Thomas, many times goes through the roof. And so when you and I've listened to some of your interviews and you do an unbelievable job, but a lot of your listeners will agree that once you get your house in order, your mind in order, everything goes from there. Everything can then take off because without getting into the details, you're starting to attract certain things that just come to you. Opportunities come to you. New people come into your life. So they come to us with some anxiety, and then a lot of improvements occur in different parts of their life. Thank goodness after working and going through our program. And Thomas, by the way, I am a big learner. I went to college on a basketball scholarship. Thank God my parents didn't have to pay a dime. I barely got into college, and I barely got out of college. I mean, I was not but I am a constant learner. So I've had mentors and I've learned from so many different people. And you can do this stuff. You can figure it out, and you can go online. You can learn an incredible amount of knowledge. And I always suggest people do that to start. But when you want to get serious and you want to really make a shift, just like sports, I think I think everybody needs a coach. And you don't have to pay for a coach. You don't have to use us. There's a lot of great people out there. But I think the guys that have played sports and are active and athletic, and the women who play sports, understand the value of having a coach who's been through it, who's taught this stuff, who has success doing it. And that's what we're fortunate enough to have done.
Yeah, I actually really liked the analogy of like on the basketball court, you have the high performer, but if he's getting off track, he does go to the coach and the coach does guide him to be a better player. And he may not be as good a player without the coach. So in terms of like everyone understands sort of discipline and perseverance and that sort of thing and how it relates from sports to business, but I actually hadn't thought of it in that way. So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
You
thank you.
mentioned the fundamentals a couple of times. Again, that's another one I wanted to ask you about, because in a basketball context, you're like doing your 3-point shots or you're slam dunking on a regular basis. You do 100 of them a day or whatever it is that you're doing. How it relates to business? Is it the miss process that you talked about, or is it something in addition?
The miss method it's in addition to that. The miss method is just it's something to keep in your mind whenever you get off track, whenever you're going into la la land. Think of those 4 things, and it brings you back to the baseline. So you got every day, you got to move, you got to improve, you got to serve, and you got to spend some time in silence. With the fundamentals, Thomas, and when guys come to us, when I played basketball, my dad was our coach. He was the winningest coach in New England, which is a part of a big section of the United States. He's won more games in the history of high school basketball than any other coach. We would do the most mundane, boring drills every single day. Same thing every day. Same thing every day. It was moving your feet on defense. It was proper form, but it was always the same drills. But Thomas, when we got into a game, we were like machines. We knew where to go. We knew where to be. We almost were anticipating what was going to happen in the game because of our training, because we did the same thing every single day. We became experts at that. Well, how about this? If you do something, if you move every day, you improve, you serve others, and you spend some time in silence every single day, guess what? You're going to have very strong mental health. You're going to have great mental endurance. Nothing's going to be able to knock you off track. So the basics is what my father, created a basketball dynasty by keeping things simple. Our clients come to us, they get the complex things elsewhere. They get all the fancy, woo-woo stuff from others. We come in, and as a coach, we keep things simple. We tell them what to do, and we drill it every single day. That's how you get great results. So taking the fundamentals and doing them every single day and creating habits. We call them algorithms. You create algorithms in your head, and you just know every day, once you begin doing it on a consistent basis, you know what happens. If something gets you off track, the algorithm kicks in and you know what to do next to get yourself back on track. Hopefully that
It's
makes
funny you
sense.
said the thing about, this, we're not working with our subconscious mind here or anything, but the drills like hundreds of times, that is totally making it into your unconscious, right?
100. And that is, so we don't get into the deep psychology of it, but that 100% is drilled into your subconscious, where you know exactly what you have to do, because it's repetition. And a big part of it is your subconscious. I don't mean to discount that. I just didn't want to get too deep into the weeds of what's going on upstairs. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's drilled so much into you that it's just second nature. But in terms of day-to-day activities, what does that look like for you? Like, so that people understand from a daily perspective, what's your day look like?
Yeah. So we get up really early. That's one of the things. And I'll tell you what, Thomas, all of this my kind of personal development um, road, I was a hot mess in like my late 30s, early 40s. I was in la la land. Like I had brain fog. I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in my career. I kind of got stagnant, and I said to myself, man, you got to figure this shit out. You got to get your shit together. Sorry, I'm cursing. But so I started reading, I started watching, I started going back to what I learned when I was a kid, subconscious, and I started to get myself out of it. Business started to go up, relationships got better. One of the things I started doing back then is I started getting up early. I started reading, and then I started working out early in the morning, and then I started listening to guys like Robin Sharma or just even Tony Robbins or these great people that I just started reading their books, and everyone started saying, get up early. So I started getting up early, and it helps. You get a lot of the stuff done early. By the time I get up at 5, by the time it's 7 a.m., I've gotten a lot accomplished in those 2 hours. So I get up early. I have a family, I have 2 daughters and a wife, so we spend some time with them. They go off to school, and then a lot of times we're just coaching our clients during the day. And
Okay,
then
so
we
you
have,
got
we have trainings at night, so we're pretty busy. But I do, and I used to hate it, to be like, it became a habit. It became one of my algorithms that I had to create, getting up early. It used to suck. Now I like it.
well, you mentioned previously some stories around how, I don't know, like success stories or examples. Have you got a one which you're particularly proud of that you can share? You don't have to necessarily be specific about who it is, just one that you're particularly proud of.
Yeah. So we've had, and this has happened a couple of times. People would come to us, uh, clients would come to us, and a lot of times these fellows and these women are referred to us by someone they heard about. And to get back to the fundamentals, they'll come and say, listen, my business, we did 4 million last year. It was a very good year, but we're stagnant now. We don't know where to go. And I say, okay, who are your getting back to the sports analogy, Thomas? Um, who are your competitors? Give me your top 3 competitors. Some of them like, okay. So then they don't have. I said, who's the top salesman at each one of your top competitors? Who's the number one guy who kicks your ass, every day? I don't know. What is their approach to sales? What are your competitors doing? And what are they saying to their prospects? Um, are you aware of it? They're like, no. So we were so big on preparation when we played basketball when I coached. We knew the opponent, we knew what they did, we knew where they were going to go, we knew all their plays. My father was a fanatic about that. When you get into business, Thomas, you talk to business owners or entrepreneurs, they don't know anything about their competition. They don't know anything about what their top competition is doing. They don't know how they market. What do their emails say? So they're not prepared. They're not prepared. They don't do the work. So when we start bringing some of these fundamentals, this is not rocket science, clearly. Know what your competitors are doing. Get your head in the game. You know, if they have like, Alex Harmozy talks about, if they have a grand slam offer and all of a sudden they're doing 8 million and you're doing 5 million, why are they doing 8 million? Go do what they're doing. So preparation, my father used to say, is your separation. We would come, Thomas, we were really good in high school. We were really good. And we knew some of the teams we were playing were terrible, terrible. If my father ever heard us talking like that, he'd go through the roof. He would say, you never disrespect an opponent. So he would go through every player on their team. Little Joey does this, Sammy does this, Peter does this, Peter does this better than any. We'd win 85-20, but he never let us underestimate an opponent. Hell of a lesson for business, Thomas. Hell of a lesson for your listeners. Okay. If your business is stagnant, but you've got a competitor who's kicking ass, go find out what that guy's doing and learn something, and then make adjustments and hopefully catch up to those guys. So business owners have come to us, and they're just not prepared. And sometimes it's a skill you got to learn. You ready for this? You got to be taught that by a coach, not necessarily me. Hopefully somebody teaches them that. So we call it scouting your opponent. You know what your competition's doing. We did that in basketball. We did, and everyone does it in sports. You should transfer that to business.
Yeah, you said it's not rocket science, but 100%, I think, totally on board with you in terms of the fact that it's not carried over into business for sure. So it's a great lesson.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I think once you are presented with that philosophy, that train of thought, it makes sense. People go, "Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should know what our competition is doing." Um, so there's a lot of things that, in sports, you can transfer to business, even basketball. If I just stuck with basketball, Thomas, there's a million ways that lessons from basketball can help you in business. You know, but in the whole realm of sports, even more. But I'm just keeping it to basketball, and there are incredible you know, parts you can take from sports and transfer them to athletics. If you ready for this, in basketball, when there's two people guarding you, it's called you're getting trapped. Okay. Or we call it you're under pressure, or you're getting trapped when two defenders are guarding one. Now, what do? We say to get out of that trap, you have to pivot. You have to get the ball, you have to pivot with your feet. Well, how about this? You're in business and business is stagnant, and you can't get over that $2 million mark. You've been there for 3 years. You keep hitting 2 million. You can't break through it. How about pivot? How about change course? How about course correct? So pivot out of that trap you're in. You're in a trap. So you may think I'm crazy. Your listeners most likely think I'm crazy talking about all this basketball stuff. But let me tell you, Thomas, pivot out of the trap, course correct, make a different decision, and then break through the $2 million mark. Optimize, figure it out. But when you're trapped in basketball, you pivot. Well, when you're trapped in business too, pivot, find a new way to do something. That is
I
another
think
example.
people are definitely guilty of attempting to continue to do the same thing, even though they're getting the same results. So
Yes.
100% on the same
Yes.
page as you. In terms of, you've mentioned your dad and how he's taught you so many things. I think the lessons are great. Do you have a favorite story about your dad that you would share?
Yeah. He loses a state championship game in 2009. No, 2007. He loses a state championship game on a buzzer beater. He was the heavy favorite. They lose the state championship game. There's probably 5,000 people there watching. And in where we live, there was a local news cameraman who came up after him, interviewed him, and said, "Coach, on TV, what do you think went wrong? What do you tell your kids after a devastating loss like this?" He says, "I'm going to go tell my team that they played their best. They played great. They played as hard as they could. And tomorrow morning, the sun is going to shine." So watching this interview was a guy named Jim Bransfield who was watching the interview from a hospital bed with his son who was dying of leukemia, 12 years old. And he sees that interview. He writes my dad a note that day and says, "I just want to let you know that I saw that your interview, and I was touched by it, because your kids lost the game. My son Dana is losing a bigger battle right now. It's a very important battle, and it's not going to go well. We're not going to win this game." So my father gets the note, and Jim Branfield wrote a big letter to the editor and explained the story. Jim Branfield says 3 days later, after that game, nurse comes and says, "There's a group of people. There's a guy that downstairs that wants to come up and see you." My father had never met this man. Jim comes down, and it's my dad at the hospital, come to see Dana. And he's got and Jim says Coach Montelli had a basketball with every player signing it, a pair of rosary beads, a set of rosary beads, and flowers for my wife. And he goes, "Coach Montelli didn't come alone." He writes in this article, "Coach Montelli didn't come alone," Jim said. "He brought his entire team to the hospital." So this explains the lessons, one of many lessons that I have been taught, and my dad, why he was a world-class coach, but a world-class off-the-court coach. He got the letter. He was so moved. He said, "Everybody get in a van. We're driving to the hospital. We're going to go see Dana." Now, the team wasn't allowed to go up to the floor to see Dana because he had slipped. He died 3 days later. But my father was able to spend a lot of time with Dana during those last 3 days. The whole team went to the wake. The whole team went to the funeral. Those are the lessons. That is a lesson, Thomas, that those players will never forget, nor will I. And so when you asked me to give one story about my dad, I think that there's a bunch of them, but that one comes to the top of my head, where an interview he gave after a very difficult loss, it made an impact. It touched somebody. Jim Bransfield in this case, and his wife, and they had an incredible. They were able to meet my dad, meet the team, and and he wrote. He was a sports writer. He wrote a long letter to the editor about explaining this story. My father never wanted that to be known. He didn't want that to be out there. But Jim wrote an article. My father got so much praise over that. It was just something he did. He just knew he was going to do that. He was going to do that, and so that's an example, I think, of making an impact on people, and that is the beauty of being a coach, being of service to others. You can have a real impact on folks. So I hopefully that story makes a little bit of sense. But that was a special one.
The
And for a
great
lot of people,
story. I love it.
Oh, and Thomas, by the way, we teach a lot of our clients. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I love that story. So hopefully, I'm glad it resonated with you. But we say to our clients, come to us. First thing we say, listen, you got to be fundamentals, basics. First thing we say is you got to be a great guy. You got to be a great guy. That is the number one thing you got to do. Everyone looks at you like, what do you mean be a great guy? Like, give me something complex. I own a company. I own 5 companies. What do you mean be a great guy? No, you have to start there. And one of the things, and there's a lot of science behind this, but when you're a good guy, you make more money, you live longer, you're happier. And when you do a kind act, which is why we talk about service, when you do a kind act for somebody, you get this flow of chemicals that go running through your body. We won't get into that. The person who received the kind act has that same flow of chemicals that goes through their body. They feel better. But the people who witnessed the kind act, Thomas, the people who witnessed you do something nice for somebody else, they get that flow of chemicals that rushes through their body. So you do something in a crowded room, or you do something where you're not expecting someone to see it. You can impact a lot of people by doing good. And that example I gave you of my dad, he wasn't expecting anything, but that one interview he gave to the reporter had so much impact, because he was just being a great guy. And some people, no one talks about that. No one talks about, you know what, you maybe your business is sucks because you're a jerk. Maybe you need to be a nicer guy. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that
I didn't even witness the story, and it's probably given me some dopamine, so I appreciate that. You mentioned your clients. In terms of if there was someone listening right now, and they're not sure whether it's something they should do or not, who would you help? Who would you speak to specifically, and who's going to benefit the most from perhaps coming and getting in touch with you?
Well, and we always say that our wheelhouse, our kind of specialty is former athletes, active competitive guys and women. But what's happening, Thomas, is more and more people are coming to us saying, I never played sports. I'm an architect. I develop buildings in Midtown Manhattan, but something's wrong, Tom. I'm cloudy. I can't get out of my own way. So our strategy, and I'm being honest, but we're not the only ones that do this. I mean, there's people who are better at this than we are. We're humble. We understand that, but our strategy works. So we get, if we could work this, our strategies, Thomas, work for anybody. I'm convinced. If you give us a chance, our strategies work. We're dealing with men, women, athletic, competitive guys, former athletes, and now we're getting some people who never played sports, but this stuff works for them too. Our strategies work for them too. So I think, and now again, I didn't invent any of this stuff. My dad certainly didn't invent any of this stuff, but we just take it and we kind of mold it into our own way. You could, but your listeners, if you don't want to, hire a coach or like our team, that's fine. God bless you. There's a lot of amazing resources online you can get for free that you can learn some of this stuff. And hopefully, if it's not in your budget to hire a team like ours, there are many free resources we put people towards to try to figure this stuff out on your own. But a lot of people come to us, they say, listen, I don't I want someone to help me. I want a coach to kind of guide me through. And that's what we do.
Well, this is more of a side note. Do you get to play much anymore?
Well, I will tell you, Thomas, it's a great question. I'm 53 years old now. I can't move like I used to. But if you put me, are you familiar with basketball?
A little bit.
If you put me at the foul line, okay, you know, the foul shots, um, now there's no one guarding me. It's I'm all by myself during a basketball game. To see guys go to the foul line and get a free shot. I don't miss those.
Nice.
I don't miss them. So I still got it. It's muscle memory reflex. It's still subconscious. It's in same form. I don't miss those. But if you put a young guy on me and he guards me, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why it makes me think of this, but there was some sort of study done. I can't remember specifically, but it's like on visualization, and it was about how if the players visualize the shots regularly, the body didn't know the difference between actually doing the practice and doing it in your mind. Do you ever do anything mindset related or help people with mindset related activities like that?
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff, again, you know, the stuff that we teach is not you know, it's not fancy and woo woo, but a lot of the stuff we teach and a lot of the stuff we've been discussing in the last half hour is a lot of mindset stuff. It's shifting your mindset. It's shifting how you approach a problem, how you approach a setback. So a lot of our work, and I am not a psychologist, but I've read a lot of books on positive psychology, which I love. A lot of our work is how you it's your frame, Thomas. It's your frame. You can go back, and I'm convinced you can go back in time and have an event in your life that didn't go your way, but you can change your perception or your frame of that episode, and you can turn it into a positive, where you get what they call post-traumatic growth. And so a lot of the stuff we work with is mindset. But I just started, and I just started spending some time in the morning meditating. And holy smokes, that's, for me, it's been an eye opener and a game changer. And that's all about, the way I look at it, it's all about mindset. I mean, it's you're spending time in solitude. There are no distractions, and you really get to focus. And that's one of the things that I've started doing, and our team does it now too. And we have the folks that work with us begin to put that into their daily program as well. Meditation. I always used to think, well, I used to poo-poo it. It's powerful. Did you
Yeah, I've thought the
meditate?
same thing.
Do you meditate?
It's funny you mention it because it's something which has come, should we say, back into my life a little bit more recently, and have noticed a difference in just my outlook, my everyday outlook towards
Yeah.
life in general. So yeah,
What
I
Thomas?
agree with
What
you.
time do you get up in the morning?
I get up when my little ones get up. So
Oh,
at 6 in the morning, I'm normally woken up by someone. So I haven't had to set an
okay.
alarm for a very long time. I have attempted to do the 4:30 thing, go out and
Yeah.
before they get up, but it didn't last very long. It
Not
lasted a few
not
days.
easy. Not easy. Trust me.
What about
My
you?
daughters are a little bit older now, but with children, I understand your pain. Not easy. Yeah.
What about yourself?
So we have I get up at about 5. I get up at 5, which is early for me. And I keep hearing I follow guys who I really respect and admire on social media. They're getting up at 4 o'clock, 3:30. I'm like, that's a whole nother world. And then they're jumping into a cold plunge. Have you tried that yet? That
No,
scares me.
I'm not doing that.
Cold plunge. And they say you got to try it, Tom. You won't believe how your mindset. But the first 30 seconds you can't breathe. I go, well, that's exactly what I need. I don't want to do that. I don't want someone to choke me for 30 seconds where I can't breathe. But my friends are trying to get me to jump into a cold plunge in the morning.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll
although I
ever
know
do
I've
that.
been wrong about things before, I'm quite reluctant to do the ice bath, but
Yeah,
You
me
let me
too.
know how that goes. We can put an
Yeah, no,
update on the
yeah,
video
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I'll send you. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll take a video and I'll send you a video.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be good.
but I get up early, but that's not part of my game plan yet. The cold plunge.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
for people who want to get in touch or follow you, where do they go?
So if you we have a website that's about we're going to expand into social media a little bit more, Thomas. It kind of scares me right now, but we have a website which is professionalswinning.com. Professionalswinning.com. You can see us, you can learn a little bit about us, and then eventually we're going to get onto some of the social media channels soon. And start to spread our message a little bit more on social media. But we have just an old school website right now where if these folks want to, your listeners want to learn a little bit more about us, maybe get in touch with us or whatever, up to them, professionalswinning.com.
Well, I've been on the site and actually really liked it. So I didn't notice it was old school. I just love the fact that the philosophy's on there. You know, you're helping people out with the message even before they've before they've got in
Yeah.
touch. So
Well, thank
one
you.
thing I
Thank you
wanted
for
to
that.
double check
Yeah,
is there
please.
anything that I should have asked you about today that you would like to share?
No, you nailed a lot of good topics. You got me thinking about a lot of different things. I love that you asked me a question about a story about my dad, and I'm happy that I got to tell that story because that story impacted a lot of people where we live, especially when Jim Bransfield wrote a big article, letter to the editor about it, explaining it. So thank you for asking that. But no, I think we covered quite a bit, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, just coming back to the story a moment, the fact that he did it immediately instead of saying, let's do it next week at some point, and
Yeah,
took everyone down there and did everything. It's just such a nice story to hear. So, yeah, thank you for sharing it. Do you
yeah.
have any closing thoughts for the episode?
I would do in whatever way your listeners want to do. I would touch on the four things that we have come up with every day. If you can get your body moving, so important. If you can expand your mind, get better, grow every day, and learn, improve every day, do it. Always serve others. That takes a lot of different care, variances. You can serve others in many different ways, but serve others. Do something good. It doesn't have to be with money. Do something good for a person or a group of people. Try to do it every day. And then the most important thing, which I'm finding out, is spend some time every single day, Thomas, by yourself with no distractions. Start with 5 minutes, get it up to 20 minutes if you can. It's a game changer. And nobody does it. Well, some do. Not enough people spend time by themselves. We are in a world of distraction right now. We have so many different things coming at us constantly. You need to shut that down and spend some time by yourself in solitude every day. If you can do those four things, I think you're off to the races. There's nothing you can't accomplish, in my humble opinion.
So, your encouragement to the listener to do the MISS method. Will you be getting yours in today?
Yeah, I've done all four of them already. I'm going to continue to do them, but I've done all four already. Yep. And in the States, I'm in Connecticut, it's 10:20. So you have no excuse, Thomas, not to get up and get going. But I have done, and I'm going to continue to do them throughout the day. Um, but yeah, I have touched on all four of those already.
No excuses mentality. I like it. Tommy, thank you very much for being a great guest today.
Thomas, thank you for having me, and thanks for being a terrific host.